one of the things that we find as creators is it's really easy to get caught up in views. Am I getting enough subscribers? Am I getting these other numbers that we can't really control for? Because when we start chasing views, we might get more views, but we actually lose the heart of our content. Started to really look at, is my content getting comments from the right kind of people saying the right kinds of things? Welcome to the podcasting podcast, where I podcast about my podcasting journey. In this episode, I really want to talk about what I call the metrics that matter. So one of the things that we find as creators when you're going through all this process is it's really easy to get caught up in views, in am I getting enough subscribers? Am I getting these other numbers that like functionally we can't really control for that much, right? And one of the things that does is it starts pulling us away from, sorry, I hit the mic, pulls us away from the things that actually matter. Because when we start chasing views, we might get more views, but we actually lose the heart of our content. And so for me, one of the things that I've started to really look at as far as a metric that matters is my content getting comments from the right kind of people saying the right kinds of things, right? So am I getting comments from a neurodivergent person, from a raver, from someone who is aligned with my podcast values, or responding to the message that my guest is sharing in the show, right? Those are the things that more so point me in the right direction, because there's so many other things that can go on with the algorithm that I cannot control. But I will tell you the truth is, like, I genuinely care more about the fact that I get like a clear signal that I'm going in the right direction, that one comment that said, hey, I felt seen in this episode, or like that somebody took 2 paragraphs to respond about something, or that the person I created this for was like, oh my gosh, I felt so seen when you made this. Like those kinds of things, there's a mouth smiling above my head. Those kinds of things really show me that I'm going in the right direction. So this goes back to this idea of the North Star. And I think the North Star is more important than your niche, right? This is the thing that's telling you, why are you doing what you're doing? What encouraged you to start a podcast in the beginning? What encouraged you to start your YouTube channel in the beginning? Because from then, you have probably gotten thrown off course a bunch of different times, and that is because you have lost touch with your North Star. Or maybe your North Star has changed, right? Or evolved, right? One of the things that has come up for me is I started off this podcast where I was having really powerful, unique conversations with people while I was going to a festival, while I was going to a show. And during that time, I found it that I could, have really inspiring conversations that I wanted to share with other people. But it was also to meet really cool DJs and like have conversations with people that I couldn't have otherwise. Because if I had a podcast, it would encourage people to let me interview them in the way that I want to, because I can be very interviewee in conversations, right? And so this allowed me to have the dialogues that I wanted to have with people that might not have been in a range, right? So like paying attention to those kinds of things. And then it's evolved more and more to like, why do I care about this? And I'm thinking about these questions deeper and deeper. Why do I care about this direction, right? So a lot of it now for me is this idea of Kintsugi, and this idea around like, okay, there's like all these shattered pieces of ourselves that have been, our self has been broken out, and then we're rebuilt it in a more beautiful, glorious way. And so my brand logo is like Kintsugi, or even the logo for this podcast is like inspired from the Kintsugi version. It's just like a podcast mic that's kind of done in a psychedelic Kintsugi form. And it's also, I use the spectrum of like the rainbow gradient that is on my thumbnails and evoking through the messaging that I have. And even in my trailer where it's like all these different little tiny pieces of these people, right? It's all evoking this same message through. And so that also means that I'm creating something I'm proud of, because I'm communicating my message in a really deep and powerful way that's meaningful to me. And for anybody who out here who engages in art, right, you see these same kinds of things in great pieces of art, in the details of the video game, of the song, of the graphic novel like saga, right? Where there's so much depth to the way that the creator has done it, that the entire piece becomes so meta, because it's not just about the interview. It's about the questions that are asked. It's about how the trailer is being performed. It's about how the intro is being performed. It's what I want to draw my audience's attention to. So like something I've done more recently is like, I got this from ChatGPT that I really liked, was basically at the end of my little intro that I do is I really point to where I want the audience's attention to be. What I want them to focus in on while they're listening to this guest. Why is this guest important? Because a lot of my hope with my podcast is to bring people to light who don't normally have a huge platform. They may not have written a New York Times best-selling book yet, or have done, are making $1 million or have made $100 million like Alex Ramosi or these same famous people. But at the same time, those people are the people that we just see regurgitated over and over and over again. And I don't get me wrong, I love a lot of those people. I'm a huge Alex Ramosi fan. And at the same time, it's like those messages become repetitive. And those people grow, they evolve, but it's like we see them on the same things over and over and over again. And like, but what about the wisdom of other people? And so when I'm seeing that get out there, it's powerful for me. And the main reflection with that is that people will show me that this is the right direction. When they say something like, I feel seen in this episode, that really inspired me, what an insightful conversation, right? It's the comments to me that really evoke. So like, please, if you are resonating with this show, please let me know that you feel seen. I know how hard it is to create a podcast and create a YouTube channel, and it can be harder than you can really imagine, right? Like I know when I first started, I was so excited, I was so lit up, and honestly, creating the podcast is like such a fulfilling experience. Like the conversations are part of what keeps me going and doing that, but like there's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of uncertainty that you're going through. Like, okay, I want to make the thing, I want to get it out. That's like part of where your head's at, where like I've got to get the thing done. And there is also this idea of, okay, I want to get the thing done, but I also want to make the thing good. But then you can obsess over making it good when you don't really know what good is yet, or you're looking for some outside metric to help you determine what's good, or you hear voices saying like, well, like, who is this for? Like, or you need to do it for me or do it for that. And like, one of the things I've gotten from Rick Rubin that has stuck with me more and more is like, pay attention to who you're getting feedback from, or something to that extent, where it's like, you don't need to pay attention to every single person's feedback, but like pay attention to the people that you actually care about. Like, does this person get your content? Is this the person it's for? Because I do think that there is something of like, who are you really making this for? I mean, obviously, on one hand, I really want to say like, you ought to be making it for you. And so maybe if your audience is you, or who you were 10 years ago, or what are the things that they need to learn, or you want to like showcase, like maybe you're your audience. I mean, that's part of what I've done is I'm like, okay, well then I think the people who really resonate with this are going to be like ravers, are going to be neurodivergent people, are going to be creatives and entrepreneurs, and they're going to be people who want to hear voices outside of the norm, outside of the box thinking, who are interested in the brain and multi-diverse of topics, right? One of the things I hear a lot from people is like, well, who's your podcast for? You have like a and you have this and that. And yeah, because like that's the kind of show I would want to watch. That's the kind of show I would want to be a part of. And I'm not the only person like me, right? And like, it doesn't have to be that every single person is going to watch every single episode either, right? But there's enough content, enough overlap, and enough like core messaging that brings people together, right? And like part of the dance with podcasting, with building these things out is like, on one hand, you want to build something that creates a wide net, which is a lot of my 10-minute clips are like to capture as many people as possible. And then the long form podcast, right, is to go something deep and help them nurture and build something deep for lots of people. So you're asking two different things at the same time, and it's tricky and it's hard and it's challenging. And I would love to know your thoughts on any of the things that we've talked about today in this episode. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you pay attention to the metrics that matter, because it's really easy to get knocked off course. And so if you don't know what metrics matter to you, take the time. Take the time to figure out like, what are the things that actually really resonate to you? And I would love to hear your take on that in the comments below. What are the things that like despite chasing views, what are the things that really light you up, that give you energy to inspire you to keep creating? Because those are the metrics that matter. My name is Cameron Edward Benton. This has been the Podcasting Podcast. And you can tune in for another episode next week and watch my other podcast, Getting to Know You, with Cameron Edward Benton. It's on YouTube. So if you're on the channel, just subscribe and do all the things. Have fun. Ciao.